everyone. My name is Sanad.
And I am Shruti, and we are going to be your host for today for the fifth episode of our podcast series, an initiative by Alumni Relations team. Today, we dive into the world of operations, and to guide us through the depth, we have with us from the batch of 2011, Mr. Chetan Kotyalkar. Chetan has worked in prestigious organizations like PNG and Ola, and from the past 2 years, he is working as an assistant vice president, business operations at Swiggy. Hello,
We've
Chetan. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Shruti. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here.
welcome Chetan. A very warm welcome to you. So to begin with, you know, uh, can you explain us the work culture at Swiggy's and with respect to your job as a vice president of operations? Could you please enlighten us a bit on this?
Sure. Okay, at the outset, let me just wish you guys a very happy Diwali, belated one, although it is, but a happy
Thank
Diwali.
you so much.
Yeah,
Wishing you the same.
sure. Thanks. Okay, so about work culture at Swiggy, and also you wanted to understand from a job profile standpoint, what do I do, right? So I think from a work culture standpoint, Swiggy, I would say, is very vibrant. It's very fast paced in terms of there are multiple things that are going on parallelly, and changes are happening very quickly. And there's a lot of bias for action in terms of whatever we do. It's very open in terms of whoever wants to talk, learn, understand, can in fact go and meet the top leadership at any point of time. It's like open door policy literally being lived by everyone. So I think that is one of the unique aspects, I think, across the companies that I've worked for. And it's a very, very happy change. So I think the culture, I would summarize in a sense, is quite vibrant, agile, and open to changes. I think that's how I would put it. In terms of what do I do is basically I head private brands operations for Swiggy. Swiggy private brands basically is cloud kitchen operations. So we have multiple scale brands, Bowl Company, Homely, Breakfast Express, there's Fleshry, and we have other brands which are in the pipeline, which is whether it's a Bengali Ranago, Telugu Vantilu, there is Combo Corner, Daily Canteen. There are multiple brands which are in the pipeline. They've been scaled to some kitchens in some areas, but not yet scaled pan-India. What I'm responsible for is the entire P&L for these private brands, which are roughly an annual revenue of, say, 150 to 200 crores. I'm responsible for both top line as well as bottom line, basically looking after driving cost reduction initiatives, whether it is cost of goods sold, labor cost, fuel, electricity, and other operating expenses. And at the same time, looking at growth initiatives to look at the top line, how do we increase the number of orders per day? And so overall goals from an EBITDA standpoint for the private brands portfolio. That's what I manage.
Wow, that's really, really wonderful. A lot of insights onto how Swiggy is adapting in the fast-paced world and all your roles and responsibility. That's truly wonderful, sir. Moving on.
Thank you.
So moving on, as you know, sir, that usually, majority of MBA students are very enthusiastic to pursue marketing or finance, rather than pursuing a role in operations. So can you elaborate to our listeners what excites you?
Typically, people look at marketing or finance roles rather than picking up operations when choosing an MBA stream. So, what made me choose operations is what you asked. Okay. So I think, so I understand that. I think I also faced that when I joined. There was, of course, there's a lot of discussion that happens on which stream you need to take up. And I also had in my mind whether I should take marketing or operations and what should I do. So before coming to SCMHRD, I had about 3 years of experience in operations. And that also helped me to pick up the stream that I was looking for. and gave me more confidence. And I think, and I think also just when you join, you have the summer placements and everything going on, right? So there is a lot of pressure on choosing the right stream and looking at what you're going to do in future. But yeah, so I think that's what helped me in having confidence in choosing that stream. Now, what excites me in terms of operations, I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of innovating, and sometimes it is real time, and sometimes in a planned way. For example, I have had I think enough and more opportunities in terms of whether it's PNG or Ola or Swiggy now. Like
Right.
I had the opportunity to actually install a 120 crores line from Japan to India just within 2 years of joining PNG. And at the same time, I also have made multiple innovations, even to the extent of saving only 1 rupee per order kind of thing. I think in Swiggy. So you get to look at both small as well as big changes, and you do see it happening real time in the entire supply chain end to end. I think that is one
Yes.
of the best things that you get to do. And I would say the other thing is it like I mean, like I was trying to say, it has the unique advantage of actually working with almost all the functions and actually influencing or working with multiple teams to coordinate the results. I mean, and the results also are ranging from whether it is productivity, quality, cost, delivery, safety, morale of the team. You get to manage a large team
Right.
mostly, and you develop your people management skills. So I think these are all aspects which I like, and I think that excites me a lot. And from the past, I think 9-10 years, I have been in that field, largely going across different functions within operations, but the core being in supply chain itself. So that's how it's been for me.
That's nice. Okay. So, you spoke about what excites you. So, can you now tell us that what is the most challenging part about handling the entire operation in Swiggy in respect to food and beverage sector?
Sure. I think every industry has its own challenges. So, in terms of F&B or in terms of food delivery per se, I think the biggest challenge is how do you manage the entire inventory management and forecasting piece from an ops standpoint, because it becomes extremely complex due to the shorter supply chain expiry timings. For instance, FNV or your fruits and vegetables have an expiry of a day or two, and at the same time you have protein, you have multiple different staple products which have a slightly higher expiry time. But to manage that from an incoming raw material standpoint, and also at the same time, when you look at the customer side of it, there's huge variation in terms of the orders that you'll get. You'll never have a forecasting accuracy which is so good that there's no wastage. So you have to look at minimizing wastage, and at the same time, you don't want out of supply. So you don't want
Right.
certain
Right.
dishes not to be available and hence lose business. And so you have to manage that entire thing and balance it properly so that you have least wastage, as at the same time you have least out of stock, because both are actually going to hit your P&L from an EBITDA standpoint. So you have lesser sales and it impacts all the percentages in all the components within a P&L. And at the same time, if you have higher wastage, it will impact directly as a percentage of net sales to your P&L from an EBITDA point of view, right? So I think both are very critical, and I think that is where it's very, very challenging, because you have to minimize it, but at the same time you have to maximize sales. So it's for both ends, and hence to tread that line, I think, is very difficult. And that is where I think within Swiggy, for instance, we are developing a lot of tech systems to aid in doing that, because forecasting accuracy is something which is very, very critical. And with the
Right.
bank of data that you have day in and day out, you have so many orders, area wise, location wise, customer wise, every cohort of data is available. So it's
Correct.
important not to get lost into that data and choose which ones are important from a trend standpoint, and then figure out an accuracy in forecasting which helps in reducing wastage and at the same time not to lose sales. So I think that's the most challenging part in food delivery per se. of course, other industries like whether it's FMCG or it's travel industry or engineering industry that I've worked in, there are other challenges which are quite different. I think what makes this more challenging is the number of SKUs that you have in terms of uh, dishes. An average brand would have say about 70 to 80 SKUs at the least on the storefront.
Right.
And to make those 70 to 80 SKUs, you would have thousands of SKUs from a raw material standpoint, an ingredient standpoint. Now, to forecast both, because you don't want to have wastage at raw material end, and of course, you don't want to have wastage after the food is already prepared and then you are throwing it out, because then you have spent a lot of other cost items also. So the number of SKUs increases the complexity even more. I think that's what is, I would say, is the challenge here.
Nice. Okay, understood. How do you see the competitive environment changing post the COVID world? I mean, do you see heavy discounting being deployed to attract customers? Because from an outsider perspective, that's what we see in the app
Sure.
when we, try to order something. So
Sure. I think so. From a COVID standpoint, I would say, of course, there are multiple challenges that we do see and we have seen since March with respect to COVID in terms of both revenue as well as multiple innovations and changes that we have had to do to get accustomed to the current situation.
Right.
With the restaurant industry getting impacted big time, there are a lot of players who are now getting into food delivery as well in terms of cloud kitchens. So today, a lot of big players earlier used to have only dine-in facility. Now have got into a cloud kitchen model, which basically they have a standalone kitchen somewhere, and they are getting logged into either Swiggy, Zomato, and getting into food delivery business. Now,
Right.
what happens is with them getting into this, as of now, their appetite for burn is higher because they are not getting any orders, and if you are getting some orders at a slightly higher discount also, it's fine for them because it pays off for multiple aspects from a cost lens, right, where you are getting certain amount of revenue, and as you are able to pay off from a expenses standpoint. So as of now, of course, to match that, the other players also will give slightly higher discounting from a revenue maximization standpoint. But
Right.
but as such, of course, this is leading to increased competition currently in this area in terms of cloud kitchens and overall food delivery as such. But I don't think heavy discounting will continue to be a part of strategy to attract customers, because attracting customers, see, discounting is I think the least CAC from an attracting customer standpoint. That is, cost of acquisition of customer is the least when you increase discounts, rather than actually if you have to do either a BTL kind of a campaign where you are doing marketing campaigns and trying to attract customers. So it's the least cost driving one. But the type of customers that you get, I think the lifetime value of those customers in terms of revenue or earning is not that high. So you typically tend to get customers who are more interested in discounts, and whenever there's a discount, they will buy. Otherwise, they will not buy. So that tends to dilute the fundamentals of the business itself. So I don't think it is going to continue per se, but in fact, if you look at the volumes also, I think even Swiggy is almost back at the pre-COVID volumes already. So in Jan, Feb, whatever volumes we were doing, we are almost at that volume already as of, I think, 2 weeks back, in fact. So from a volume standpoint, it's already back. It's not something which you have to do. The challenge is that a lot of customers have moved out from the tier 1 cities and have moved into tier 2, tier 3 with work from home being there. And a lot of our orders with respect to specific Swiggy owned brands used to come from tier 1 cities, and the type of customers who are your regular customers, the power users, but that has reduced because people have moved and migrated to the other cities, and hence slightly higher discounting will stay, but not for long. It is not going to continue. It's definitely going to go back, is what I feel.
okay. Yeah, I used to always wonder about this. Thanks for sharing this. Okay, so just one more thing. How much impact does a rating and reviews by customer has on, especially if you
Hmm.
have to onboard
Hmm.
new clients
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
the?
It has a huge impact.
Can you
It has
tell?
a huge impact. So, any in fact, on the app, if you see at different positions, so when you open the app and on the listing page, so whenever you open the app, the screen that you see, we call it as a
Yes.
listing page. On the
Right,
listing
right.
page, the position of the brands that you see is largely determined and customized by a specific customer. So, for example, if you have ordered multiple times from a bowl company in the past and you have rated it well, it will show up at a higher position for you than for me if I have not ordered from bowl company or I have rated it bad. So the visibility itself changes according to the rating and your past preferences from an ordering standpoint. So it is extremely critical. And if there are any brands which are rated below 4, uh, the marketing spend that you have to do to put your brand in that particular position on listing or in terms of offers that you have to give are far higher in terms of expenses versus another brand which is say at a 4.2 4.3 and doesn't have to spend so much of marketing expense as such.
Okay.
So it's both from the investment that you have to do or visibility spend that you have to do in fact on the brand for visibility is much higher. And secondly, by organically, the way your brand is going to show up on the app in terms of visibility again, and of course, resulting in more clicks if you are more visible. That is also the probability is much lower if your rating is less. So it has a very, very direct impact.
Wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful. So, sir, as we continue, so could you also talk about some
Mm,
transformative operations practices,
mm,
that
mm.
Swiggy has introduced in the industry?
Sure, sure. I think I'll speak a little bit on the cloud kitchen front. So there are multiple things that Swiggy has done, but whatever I have been a part of, I'll just try to cite a few of those.
Sure, sure.
So I think it's tough to imagine an end of line automation kind of a thing, an automatic pick and place robo device in a kitchen. So I think that I think is one of the most innovative things that we did in the last year and a half or so. So imagine your food is being made inside the kitchen. As soon as you receive an order, the chef starts to prepare the food on a stove and then makes all the preparations, and once the food is ready it puts it into the bowl or into a tray, and then it goes to the packing table where basically the person will put it into a pouch, put a bill, wrap some kind of a coupon on it, and then give it to the delivery executive. Now, with
All
the
right.
type of kitchens that we have, the velocity of orders is very, very high. So you can imagine we have about, say, 120, 140 orders an hour, which is, say, 2 orders a minute kind of velocity in terms of peak. Now, what happens in those scenarios is basically whenever the delivery executive comes to pick up the order, there's a huge queue that builds up because if there's one person who has to pick the delivery parcel and give to a specific delivery executive, then that has to be identified. He has to shout the order number. The person has to come, and then the order is given, and then he takes out. So it takes a lot of time, and secondly, there's a lot of waiting or queuing that happens at the delivery point. Now, every minute of delivery time in terms of food delivery is very, very critical because one is it is cost
Correct.
because every minute the delivery executive waits at the kitchen to pick up the order, there's expense that is going into it. It's in the range of 1 to 2 rupees per minute kind of an expense. So you want to reduce the wait time, and also in the order delivery cycle end to end itself, of course, it reduces the delivery time for the customer and doesn't result in a bad order. So,
Right.
what we did is basically we automated the entire thing from food being put into the bowl to the time it goes to the delivery executive when it gets handed over to delivery executive. Basically, we put in conveyor systems from the point where the food is made, and there is an entire flat conveyor system which picks it, which takes it to the packing table. It packs it automatically, picks the pouch, and puts it into a rack, into a particular token area, which is for that particular order. And we put in a display system outside the kitchen where the person can see, okay, my order is in rack number this, rack number 2 or 3,
Right.
and basically the delivery executive will go and pick that order from that particular token counter and just go off. So it's basically touch-free pickup concept, which is very, very different in this industry. You might see it in say an Amazon or a Flipkart kind of an environment where you see conveyor systems and AGVs and everything. But in a restaurant industry, to do it at a very less cost and a very high ROI, I think that was a big innovation, which is being definitely being reapplied as of now with multiple partners in cloud kitchens. But yeah, so I think that was one. The second I would say is an entire hub and spoke model. So basically, in terms of food industry, you have either fresh cooking or you have say a frozen or a chilled model, where basically say you either make it in the restaurant itself. Whenever the order comes, you start preparing the pasta and you fill it up in a bowl and then you give it, or you have already pre-prepared it and you have frozen it at a certain temperature, and when it comes, you just microwave it and give it to the customer. So what we started with a couple of years back is basically an entirely fresh food model, where whenever you receive the order, we just start preparing the food and then basically deliver the order as soon as the food is prepared. Now, some of the players at that point of time were in frozen model, and some were in fresh, and some were in chilled model. So I think about 6 months back, we've implemented this hub and spoke model, which is basically it gets cooked at a parent kitchen and sent to the spokes, the restaurants or the kitchens which are closer to the customer and are very, very low square feet. So a typical kitchen is about say 2,200 square feet kind of a kitchen. Imagine a kind of a 3 BHK kind of 3 or 4 BHK kind of a flat. So that's the size of a typical kitchen. Now, in the hub and spoke model, the kitchen size is about say 100 square feet, which is say a bedroom out of that entire 4 BHK. So that's how the entire real estate space gets reduced, and you are basically cooking at one place and then sending it to that particular spoke, which is a very low square feet, and hence it requires much lesser fuel, electricity. It requires much lesser expenses from a operating expenses standpoint. And it is also giving you further advantage in terms of lower delivery times, because as soon as you are closer to the customer, of course, the delivery times are much lower, and hence the chances of you getting orders is also much higher because your TAT is lower. Okay. So I think that's what we implemented. It's giving us a lot of benefits in terms of labor costs, in terms of quality of food itself, because now the standardization is far higher, because you are now preparing everything at the hub and then sending it to the spoke. So it's not a frozen model, which degrades the quality of food. This is more of a chilled model, and it's a mixed combination of fresh and frozen, where we have put some dishes which are make to order, and some of them are make to stock, which basically comes from the hub, and then here it is done a la minute finishing, and then is given to the customer. So it's a mixed model, not as a hardcore frozen. Okay. So I think that is helping us big time in terms of say our P&L cost. If typically the labor cost is in fact reduced by almost 40% in terms of net sales by doing this. So I think that's a big innovation, and of course that again, as of now, I'm not sure if it is being reapplied, but I'm sure it will be once the P&L is clear. I think those two, I would say, are the biggest innovations that I have been a part of. And of course, I think there have been multiple smaller ones, like when COVID hit us. So in terms of hygiene and safety for food delivery, because our orders dipped, very, very big time in March. And then we had to adapt in terms of hygiene and safety standards. I think in terms of hygiene and safety, we already were following a lot of standards from a safety standpoint, but to give the perception of safety to the customer is also very important. So a lot of innovations from that standpoint, whether it is social distancing inside the kitchens, outside for delivery executive temperatures being shown, temperature of chefs or packers being shown to the customer, giving a visual of the kitchen itself on the app on a real-time basis, how it looks like. So I think there are a lot of innovations we did from a COVID standpoint for hygiene and safety purpose, which I think surely at an industry level, many other partners also did.
Great, great, really great innovations out there, and we're hoping for more such initiatives from Swiggy's. So moving on, sir, looking back at your career, if there was one thing that
Hmm.
you would have done differently,
Hmm. Hmm.
so what would it be and why?
Okay. So, honestly, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently, because
All right.
I think I spent almost 6 years in PNG. But the fact that I think every 2 years I was in a different function. So I started with process engineering in a plant, and then I moved to utility. I did roles in QA maintenance. I did roles in warehousing, planning. So I did across different functions. That's what I think helped me in PNG, not to get bored and move on. But and then when I took this step to move into a startup, and basically from an e-commerce standpoint, I think that was also quite I am happy about. Got to learn a lot of new things, a lot of different things. And also I think it's very different to work in say a set industry like I did in, whether it's in Siemens or PNG, to working in an Ola or a Swiggy. I think it's completely different. Of course, the basics that whatever you learn in a set industry in terms of standardization, in terms of process, in terms of problem solving thought process, it remains the same. But the factors that are important in terms of a startup or an e-commerce kind of a platform, I think is the things are changing very fast, and you have to innovate along with ensuring that whatever you have set as a standard process quickly becomes as a norm, and people don't start deviating from it. So it helps to have that experience and then move into a startup kind of environment, and that's what I felt. And otherwise, I don't see. I don't see anything that I would change as such.
Perfect,
Okay.
perfect. That's really, I know that's perfect. I know start in the perfect tempo, so we really wish to you continue the same.
Sure,
And so before we conclude this wonderful session, we would like to take one last question.
sure,
All right. So which would be an amalgamation of two questions actually.
sure.
So share with us how you have stayed connected with your batchmates, and if you can share any fond memories with us. Also, what recommendation will you give us to our batch?
Sure. So I think the first part in terms of how I have stayed connected, I think it's easy to get connected as of, I mean, nowadays in terms of WhatsApp groups, in terms of there are specific mailing groups. I mean, our study group and all all that we had at that point of time,
Okay.
of course, are
Right, right.
connected now also. So whether they are in different industries, different functions, but we are connected on that front, and it helps to be in metro, because I mean, you in Bangalore, you find everybody, I mean, a lot of people in Bangalore, working in Bangalore,
Right.
and I mean, we connect on either on weekends or once a couple of months kind of thing. So that helps, and that's the way we have connected. In terms of fond memories, I think lots of fond memories, of course, of the college and the time that we spent there.
Right.
Whether it's I mean, whether it's the katta that we had there, where we used to sit on the circle, talk a lot of, I think, bullshit more, but but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of good memories that I can't just summarize in a sentence or two, but yeah, I think it was fun, and a lot of learnings from there, mostly in terms of the way it was. Of course, the course structure is one part of it, but also the people that you are studying with, I think, made a lot of difference. In terms of for your batch, I think for the people who are passing out now, of course, it will be a little bit tough considering the current
Right.
scenario outside. But I mean, it will change quickly, is what I think. It's not a, I mean, it's not a long term thing. It will quickly change, and I am seeing a lot of changes, whether it's in the whether it's in the job market or whether inside the company. Also,
Right.
there are a lot of positions that are there that are being hired for. And also in overall sense, I think from a volume and overall perspective standpoint, it's very, very positive. So should not be long term for sure.
Right, right. So, like it
Okay.
said that, memories never fade. So, wish that you keep the same bond alive with your batchmates and friends. And we also hope that our batch and our seniors get to go on the campus soon so that we can relive those memories that you folks did back then. So, we really
Sure,
hope for that.
sure,
And
sure.
yes, it was a great session again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chetan, for coming and talking to us. It was really nice to talk to
Sure,
you.
sure.
Thank
Sure.
you
Thanks a
for
lot. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chetan.